Nate.
I'm Tom.
And we are VIMTV, Velocities in Music, the best kept secret in music reviews. Today we're going to review an album by Janelle Monae. Do you guys know who Janelle Monae is? Because in 2010 she came out with an album called the Archandroid, which blew Tom in my mind. Like our collective Velocities in Music mind went crazy when we heard this album because she was doing all this. Janelle Monae, for those of you who aren't familiar with her work, I would consider her music to be mostly in, I like very broad genres. I like, let's call it pop, but she gets into, you know, like a lot of neo-soul, R&B, very, though, I would say experimental in nature.
Oh, very much so.
The Archandroid is a concept record, and The Electric Lady, which is her album she just released, is also a concept record, which I think it serves as a prequel to the Archandroid storyline, which I'm not going to get into much of the storyline, just know that a lot of the lyrics and some of the skits that are within The Electric Lady revolve around that storyline. So I think that that's something important to note when you listen to Janelle Monae's music, is that there's usually some sort of concept driving it, which, you know, normally, Tom, you and I really enjoy when artists put concepts or themes behind their lyrics because that motif seems to bind the whole album together. The Archandroid, kind of a longer album.
Yeah, definitely.
Had a lot of variety on it, and a number of big songs that I think are just some of the best songs in this genre I've heard to date. That I've come back to now 3 years later. I'm still listening to those songs. You know, like songs like Neon Gumbo, Tightrope.
I really liked Wonderland.
Yeah, Wonderland was great. The Electric Lady, a very different album.
Yes.
A very different album. Here I see Janelle, or I hear Janelle Monae really reaching, I think, really trying to push her sound as an artist and experiment with new ideas, new instrumental palettes, new sounds, new styles. She's going more into soul and even fusion at times than I've heard her do on the Archandroid. And I really liked how her approach with that. I really think that, you know, going for a different sound, especially for a sophomore album, when you set the stage for yourself as this avant-garde, artistic, you know, experimental artist, like really pushing yourself on the second album is a good way to continue that legacy. Yeah,
and the sound, what you're referring to, is really the biggest difference to me on this, because on the Archandroid you hear her experimenting with so much that it's a lot harder to peg. Here I think that her influences come out a lot stronger. There are so many tracks on here that sound straight out of the mid-70s Stevie Wonder discography. Oh my god.
That's clearly what she's going for, too.
Ghetto Woman may as well have been on, like, Talking Book. I mean, I could just hear Stevie Wonder say, even the lyrics is basically a Stevie Wonder song. You also get a lot of, like, Motown, James Jamerson style bass lines, like something you'd hear on a Marvin Gaye record, or even Diana Ross in the vocals sometimes. And so I'm hearing that all over the place, and I tell you, that's actually some of my favorite music. So hearing her pay homage to that is actually really cool, and I like to know that that's kind of her influence, and that she's taking that and putting it into a more modern perspective, kind of in the same way that with the concept, she's taking the old 20s German film, I believe German film, Metropolis, and putting it into a more modern context, but with pop music. So it's interesting because she's taking all these really great artistic influences and repackaging them and reinterpreting them, and that's really what music and art is all about. But what it really comes down to is just the songwriting. And while I think stylistically this has some cool things going on, I just don't think that any of these songs really have as much of an impact. One reason for that is because, and this is something that you pointed out as well, I want to give you credit for this and let you run with it, but a lot of these songs just sound so cluttered.
Yes!
They're just, it's like she just kept throwing stuff in the mix, and I think that simplicity is key with a lot of these just soulful melodies, but they just get convoluted.
It kind of reminds me of when I was like 7 or 8 years old and my dad like put me in front of a stove and said, "You're gonna help me cook dinner," and I was like, "Yeah, let's do this! We're gonna put like salt and pepper and chicken and marshmallows, and everything's gonna go into this pot, and we're gonna make this really sweet meal." And as a 7 or 8 year old, that was great. Now, I'm not saying that Janelle Monae is making just like absolute crap by mixing things together, but on a lot of these songs you hear a lot of different instrumentation, whether it's strings, synths, keyboards, a guitar, bass, any of the other eclectic instrumentation she's using to back up her music and her vocals. It's just layer upon layer upon layer, and what you have is a very cluttered sound.
Yeah.
I'm reminded of Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, Tom, in the battle scene at the end of the movie when it's just everything is going on everywhere. There is just so much going on at the screen, and none of it has anything to do with the plot or the storyline or anything that matters about the movie itself. That is exactly the way the Electric Lady functions as an album. There is just stuff happening all the time, and it doesn't really have any really sharply written melodies. It doesn't have anything that's too dynamically brilliant. A lot of these songs are not they range in size from 2 to 4 minutes, but they all feel long, and I feel like the problem, that's a problem with songwriting. When you're taking this really aggressive mixture of sonic devices and then trying to repeat that for any amount of time, if it doesn't sound good, it's not going to sound good 3 minutes from now either, no matter how many times you repeat it. And I feel like Janelle Monae definitely ran into that problem a few times. Now, that was definitely hit or miss. There are some tracks on here that are better. Tom, you and I both picked track 3, Queen, you know, whatever that stands for. And then also we both picked track 9, Dance Apocalyptic,
great song.
which actually is a great song. I think that song it reminded me a lot of something right out of what I would have heard on Archandroid. But there was another couple tracks here. Tom, you picked track 6, Primetime, which was a track
kind of cool ballad.
Yeah,
Miguel's guest spot was pretty good.
Yeah, I actually picked that track before I unpicked it to pick Victory, track 15, the highlight of the back album, and my favorite ballad on the album. I think that album has a much more simple sonic composure, and Janelle Monae really focuses on providing her just beautiful voice, and her vocals and vocal melodies she creates on Victory, I think, shine. And what I would have liked to have seen throughout this entire album is less clutter, more focus on just pure songwriting. And if you do that, Janelle Monae has the talent to write these beautiful melodies, and it would just have worked so much better. I think the true offender isn't isn't how she wrote the songs, but it's the lack of tact in the song length. She almost overcommitted to the concept. Tom, this is a criticism that I've heard you give before, and I'm going to give it now too, so thanks for learning me up. I feel like if you take a concept, that's a great honorable thing to do when you're writing music. It's a great artistic venture. But when you overcommit to it, sometimes like what Coheed and Cambria has done in the past, a little bit. If you overcommit to it and make your music falter at the sake, or the listening experience falter at the sake of the concept, that is an absolute no-no. You're a musician and a musical artist first before you're just this prolific, you know, just Jackson Pollock just flinging musical paint everywhere, which is what the Electric Lady is. It's a Pollock painting of just eclectic soul music. And I feel like it definitely loses focus from time to time. It's hard to get through this entire album, and I felt like a lot of the cool things that Janelle Monae was doing suffered because of the length.
I totally agree. I would have liked a more succinct, focused listening experience, and you know that this album's got problems when I see a 19-track album and I have trouble picking 3 tracks that I really think stuck out.
Very true.
I mean, Dance Apocalyptic was the clear one for me, and then it was kind of like...
and we picked very similar tracks.
Yeah.
That's never a good sign.
No, it's not.
Never a good sign. Tom, what are you giving this album?
I'm giving this an even 70.
So that's actually, with all the negativism...
Because overall, I appreciate her willingness to be experimental, and I think there are a lot of positive qualities. It's more just that the big problems were... You know, there were only a few of them, but they were big ones.
Yeah, and I'm going 68, which gives this a 69 overall from us. Is high 60s, indicative of an album with a lot of positive qualities, with a few key concerns that we have that keep it out of the good to great range. And you know, I'd say that that's a really good place to put this album. I think Janelle Monae is a hugely talented artist. I mean, her voice is fantastic, and what she did on the Archandroid was fantastic. She showed a lot of signs of cool ideas on the Electric Lady, but it just, how it all came together, I just don't think it really worked overall. Now, you guys might have had a completely different experience with the Electric Lady, and I would love, Tom also would love to hear about your experiences. If you loved this or hated it, we'd love to hear why. So leave us a comment at www.velocitiesandmusic.com or youtube.com/velocitiesandmusic. Also follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, and let us know what albums from 2013 or any time in the distant past you'd like to see us review on this YouTube channel. I'm Jake.
I'm Tom.
And we are VIMTV, moving music critique forward.